Blinded by the Light is about Javed, a Pakistani British kid who's living in Luton, England in the late 1980s, and he is sick of his life. He hates his small town where nothing happens. He's sick of his family and their culture, and he just wants to break away from all of it and actually make something of his life. So when he discovers the music of Bruce Springsteen, he eventually gets the courage to stand up for himself and actually make something of his life and finally give himself meaning. Now, this is probably the fourth movie in the last year that has focused on a music pop band from either the 60s, 70s, or 80s, and where we basically just get to listen to their music for an hour and 40 minutes. We've had it with Bohemian Rhapsody, yesterday Rocket Man, and now Blinded by the Light. And sadly, Blinded by the Light with Bruce Springsteen is probably the one I would care least about because I'm not the biggest Bruce Springsteen fan. I'm not saying his music's bad, I just never got emotionally attached to his music, so personally I don't care about the music. And because I don't feel like this movie really had that edge for me that it did for those other movies where I actually did really like the music from those people. And because of that, the movie has to really focus on its heart to win me over that we're given with its plot and its characters. And sadly, I don't think it really did the best job for me, and because of that, I left the movie feeling rather underwhelmed. As I said before, the movie really has to focus on delivering strong narrative, a strong plot with likable characters, and sadly those are actually my two biggest issues with the movie. With the characters overall, they're not bad. My only main real problem I had with the characters is its main character of Javed. Now, I'm not saying the actor who portrayed Javed is a bad actor. He's not a bad actor. Vivek Kalra, that's his name. I'm so sorry if I butcher that. Kalra's not a bad actor. I just wasn't a really big fan of his character because honestly, he kind of got on my nerves a little bit. Have you ever had one of those friends that obsessed with something so much that they just idolize them, put them on a pedestal, treats them as a god, and they won't stop talking about it for so long, and you just want to say that, please stop, just stop talking about it. They're just not that great. That's what I kind of felt with the main character and his idolization for Bruce Springsteen, because he is just so obsessed with Bruce Springsteen. It kind of got on my nerves a little bit, and I just wanted to say, just stop. Just stop a little bit. I don't want to sound like a horrible person trying to ruin one's dreams, but when you're trying to make a likable character, I just feel like that's not the best way to make your character that likable, at least for me, because for me personally, it got on my nerves. Because there's things that he would do that would be more Bruce Springsteen focused rather than focusing on life itself and acting like a normal human being. Like there's one scene where he goes to a club and the club's playing not awful music, he's there with his sister, but in the middle of the club in the dance scene, he puts on his headphones and starts listening to Bruce Springsteen. And I just think if I saw that or if I was friends with that person in real life, I thought that'd be kind of a rude thing to do, and it got on my nerves. There's also one small scene slash storyline where it really wants to play Bruce Springsteen on the school's radio, but they say no because that music's outdated. And so during school, he breaks into the radio station, puts Bruce Springsteen on, locks the room, and makes sure that no one can turn it off. And so with his friends, they leave school running, singing, and dancing to Bruce Springsteen music, and just that, it made it seem like, wow, these people are actually kind of jerks. And did they just leave school in the middle of the day, or is it the end of the day? I don't know. Because then you see them running through town, a mall, even fields, and even during this moment, which sounds all whimsical because we're seeing them sing and dance to this song that we get to hear in the movie, during this scene when they're running through the town or a field, they're not listening to any music. So it's either they're just singing this music, listening to nothing, and a bunch of strangers would think those people look crazy. Or they're not even singing to the music, they're just dancing, and so one stranger could look at them on the streets and saying, wow, those people are crazy. Because even though we're listening to the music, the characters in the movie aren't listening to anything, so you think, wow, these people really are crazy. And I think this mainly goes back to a choice from the director, which honestly I don't think wasn't really the best or most realistic idea, because this movie is based in reality. It's not a musical. If it was a musical like Rocket Man, sure, I'd give them a pass, but since this is a movie based in reality, I look at it as kind of a flaw and a weird direction choice. And there's also even one scene when the main kid is singing to his love interest in the middle of an open market, and he's listening to Bruce Springsteen, so he starts singing to her, and while it can't be considered cute, everyone else in the market also starts singing along with him, which for us, the audience, is cute because we get to hear the music, hear everyone else sing it, but in the reality of the movie, no one else can hear the music, so they're really just singing a bunch of words at this random stranger that they don't know, and it just felt awkward and kind of weird when you really focus in on the movie and realize what it's trying to do. Because I feel narratively, the movie wasn't that strong, and I do think it does go back to its director. Because there are even certain storylines in this movie that are introduced, and I don't really think the director handled them very well and really brought them out to their best execution. Because there's even one storyline we've seen in the trailers where the main kid comes to New Jersey and sees the hometown of Bruce Springsteen. Yeah, it's a very big part of the person's life and probably did actually happen in real life, so the director wanted to include it, but really it lasts 30 seconds to a minute. And honestly, I don't even think that they really filmed anything in New Jersey. They either got a mix of B-roll footage and the main character on either a stage or green screen. It felt very forced into the movie and didn't even need to be there, and while it did have a big repercussion for what happens in the third act of the movie, I feel like the director could just use what was already there with the love interest storyline in this movie and use that as the consequence to kick off the third act. Because a big part of Javed's family life is that he has to date a Pakistani girl, and when he doesn't, that's a really big moment for him, his character, and his story story regarding his family, and I feel like that tool really could have been used as that third act consequence, but no, that storyline kind of gets resolved off screen and we're focused with this New Jersey storyline that really doesn't have to be in the movie. Another big part of this movie is the Pakistani race issue that was happening in England in the late 1980s, and while Javed surely overcomes those challenges regarding a scene in the mall, there's a bigger scene that happens closer to the third act of the movie that is a real big struggle and causes issues between Javed and other members of his family, and in the end the movie never really dawns on it again, never focuses on it, never has an overall general conclusion to the storyline. And in today's age, having a very satisfying conclusion to a race storyline like that I feel like could have been really important, but sadly the movie doesn't really dawn upon it again. Now I don't want to bash on this movie because this movie still works in many places. This is a very heartwarming movie that has a great message, and in this world of 70s artists coming to the big screen, I really like the way the movie translated Bruce Springsteen's music to the screen by literally having the words of the songs being written onto the screen. We can see them in the scenes of the movie. I thought it was rather clever and unique and something we didn't really see that much. For most people, this movie would definitely work a lot more than it did for me. I personally did see its flaws and annoyances in its character and its narrative. I'm not saying that this is a bad movie whatsoever. I feel like you can definitely get certain satisfaction from this movie, so I can say that Blinded by the Light is still a good movie. So that's Blinded by the Light. What do you guys think? Have you seen the movie? Have you not seen the movie? Whatever you think, put the comments below and maybe I'll read it, maybe I won't. Thank you as always for watching. If you haven't, click my last video right over here, and you can click my upcoming video right over here. Thank you as always for watching, and hope to see you next time.